Welcome back, everyone. Wildcat Fanalytics, Mike and Jesse, post Duke pre-Bahamas in a couple of 3 hours, actually. I believe we tip off against Davidson. We're not going to talk too much about that, I don't think.
Mm-mm,
But I
no,
think what we do have to say today will lend itself to the question burning on every Arizona Wildcat fan's mind is where do we go from here?
I thought it was will we ever win again? But yeah.
That's 1A.
Davidson's 4-0. We're not,
Yes.
so we got work to do.
Is the sky falling?
Yeah.
Let's start with just the big picture takeaways. I was at McHale in person, and then I got to see a condensed game throughout the last few days here, and you saw a little bit online. Let's go through the takeaways, including if you've got a bear down award, I can certainly muster one. And
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
start?
Again, no, I'll just caveat to everybody that, hey, I just had my 40th birthday. Yay. Yeah, everybody thought I was already crossed that. Um, the and I was in Mexico City for this game, and then I was out of town as well for Wisconsin, and so I caught as much as I could, and then um, have followed up with some post viewing as well. You've certainly dug in more. You were there in person. I love the bravery. Congrats to you and your son. You brought your son with you. So just big kudos that you made that game. It was a big trip for you, I know, and it takes guts. And why does it take guts? Because oftentimes this happens.
Yeah,
So,
it's a little bit
so
of
big
it's a
kudos.
little bit of masochism and a healthy interest in playing with the fringe of human experience. And if I'm honest, and so I just told you a little about my son's violent anger after the game, but I will say, as I just told you, Mike, that there is a huge advantage to having that live viewing experience in the venue. So I really want people who are listening to chime in. Some of you go to so many more games than obviously either of us goes to. Part of the reason we started this podcast because we're not
Hmm.
in Tucson, we want to feel more connected with it. And I felt like my bird's eye view of that court gave me such a better sense of this team, at least in that one night. So one of the things that I was tracking, and I know we've been tracking, was our defensive connectedness. It looked like
Mm,
we have, when we've been sloppy in the past, and certainly earlier this year, definitely at Wisconsin, we aren't super connected, communicative, and responsive in the team aspect. If we miss that first rip or they work a couple of actions, a team can usually get a pretty good look on us. And if we look back in hindsight, there's often a player standing around in sort of that no man's land of help thing. So
yeah.
we're gonna break some of that down because I actually thought live as I was watching, I said our defense looks improved. The connectedness looked better, looked sharper. The rotations on the whole were better, and I thought for the most part, Duke's offensive pedestrianness was largely impacted by our defense. I didn't
Yeah.
think there's a lot of Arizona games where I'm watching and I'm like, man, we're just relying on them missing open shots. And they got shots, but they had to work and they have great players. So um,
Yeah. Quick note on that. Duke's offensive efficiency against us, where we've got, blown out at home by Duke, basically the exact same as they had against Kansas, where Duke loses by 3. And Kansas really in the same kind of striking range in terms of their offensive efficiency as well, where they beat Duke. And so we we did a pretty darn good, if we did it's hard, I wish we did better, but I thought we did largely on the numbers. We did our job on defense to the extent that you can do your job against a team that's pretty well stacked with both NBA talent and then just exceptionally high level college talent.
totally.
So
And I
defensive end, some
yeah,
kudos there.
totally. I felt like our defense was overall markedly improved. And
Oh, for sure.
what I want to see today is this is the big underlying theme with our program here as we parallel, the development of Tommy's influence. Can we go from the circumstantial to the characterological? Meaning,
Mm,
can something happen once that becomes the heartbeat of a program? This performance against Duke needs to be the baseline for how we show up defensively. Can we improve and get better at things? Yes, of course. It's still early season, but the
Yeah.
effort and the intensity and the fight was a fundamental baseline level that if Arizona continues to make that part of their character, i.e. Houston,
Yeah.
not that we need to fit the profile of Houston in terms of their emphasis or their style, but the overall fight I thought was mostly outstanding. I thought on an individual level, KJ, Bradley, Carter,
Yeah.
Townsend, and Krivas were
Yeah.
and Henry
Yeah.
were all like they weren't perfect. Yes, we'll get into it, but they responded as if the moment wasn't too big for them, and they got in there and they all made positive plays, even when we were trying to come back late, which will show you. I thought overall, if we had played sort of even a slightly subnormal offensive game, those offensive, like they scored basically, 10 or 12, 14 points on offensive rebounds. And it was so huge because we only scored 55.
Yeah, I think that's an exceptional point. That's really the point that I came away with, and where I feel somewhat comfortable coming out of that game. People are gonna hate a lot of what we're saying right now. I know it as I'm saying it.
We
You're
have
like,
we have evolved listeners. You got to trust the
okay,
listener.
good,
We
good.
trust
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Don't
And
flame us
and
on
Mike
this.
and Mike, you and I could not have come to this perspective on Saturday morning. This is five
Not a
days.
chance.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
also got through our rage and all that. This is the point of this, right? So
5 days and several mezcalitas for me later. I yeah, I mean, if the offense shows up, the defense gets easier. That's
that's
obvious, but
right.
let's keep it. Let's make sure we're talking about that. If the offense is making buckets, it's a heck of a lot easier to play defense,
That's right.
and the points still go on the board is easy for the other team, and you've got a little more gusto and a little more, feeling like yourself. The jokes are funnier after a win, right? It's easier to buckle down on D after a made basket, especially after a bunch of them rather than a bunch of shots that clank out. So, and then the corollary to that, and you could say, well, great, but the defense or the offense sucks. It's Tommy. This is still a guy that knows how to put an exceptional offensive group out there, and there's a lot of guys that aren't clicking right now that are exceptional offensive players, or just these are guys that know how to score baskets. So there's reason to have optimism for the future, and I think there's been a bit of a joke of like, hey, we're undefeated in November, but Tommy's undefeated in November, but historically, but doesn't have the wins in March. Okay, like if you're not satisfied with wins in November and you're focused on March, then this might be the team for you.
Yeah, and you've also got to take the early hits, and you've got to
Yeah,
say, all right, like this guy's not falling. I think where it's fair for Arizona fans to be really nervous is that we have yet to see a Tommy coach team significantly improve and have that kind of arc. It's been
yeah, that's fair.
go out hard and hold on.
Yeah,
So just finishing that thought on setting the table, I thought
please.
the offense scored 27 points in the first half, 28 points in the second half. I actually thought, even in watching it over again, aside from a couple questionable decisions, which were not really about execution, but just about, taking quick shots, we
Yeah,
really got good shots throughout the first half and much of the second half. We didn't get great shots. I thought Duke's interior defense of
so
Malawak
tough.
and Brown. This is good, folks. This is gonna be my one rant here. Malik Brown was my guy in the portal,
Our guy.
and if you didn't see why on Friday, you need to go back and watch the film. He was an absolute disruptor on defense. They're not even using him offensively, although last night against Kansas, he had 8 points on 2 shots, just so you know. But he had a couple nifty passes out of that top of the key
Yeah, he
ball
did.
screening to Sion James. Sion James was my other guy. All right. So my two guys, John Shire apparently watches our podcast. And no, of course, recruiting doesn't work like that. I'm sure Tommy loves Malik Brown and Sion James, but you can only get who you can get. Anyway, Malawak and Brown were outstanding in the way of really disrupting our post entry. And before we jump down Krivas's throat, yes, he needs to get stronger and better and quicker and all that. He actually was the origin point of most of our offense. If you watch the tape, many made field goals. He had 5 assists, by the way.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It was hard to know because I think literally 3 of them might have been on goaltends. So it was like
Mm.
you don't feel an assist the same way when it's a goal. But he had 5 assists. And yes, we're struggling to score in the post, and that is an issue, and it is limiting our efficiency. However, I felt like most of the shots we got in the first half I could live with. The only one where I was like, was Caleb's, rushed three. We'll get into Caleb, I'm sure, but I thought over on the big picture, we got enough good shots to win that game with how well our defense played. And if you just take it this way before we dive in, if you get one defensive rebound where they didn't make a three, okay, and then you take Caleb makes that layup and one of his several open threes. So I'm not asking much. That's putting him at 5 for 13, 2 for 9. That's basically a 1 to 3 point game headed into the last 5 minutes. I'm not saying we win, but it's different than trying to paw back from now it's 7, now it's 9, now it's 11, now it's 9, now it's 7. And so even without getting into the whole like sky is falling, is Tommy a good coach, is Caleb broken kind of response, circumstantially, that game was really actually like a couple possessions away from being really tight. And I just credit Duke for like really good poise, enough offensive execution. They weren't brilliant either, but I think they did enough. Cooper Flagg did enough. He was excellent. Again, it took him what, 21 shots or something.
Yeah.
So we did a good job. I thought we did a really good job on Knipple, and those shots felt so big because it's a low possession, it's a low point game. Those shots feel like daggers. But if we're scoring, then it's like, okay, we're right there,
Yeah, and Knipple getting those 2 buckets late. If
That's
he
big.
doesn't hit he doesn't hit those 2 shots. And look, he's one of the best shot makers in the country right now. As a young guy, but still he is. But if he doesn't hit those 2 shots, that game is in the single digits, and it's maybe a 2 possession game, I think is what it was. And then his stat line is pretty pedestrian, right? And
Yeah.
it's just, and I know, if
If.
it, yeah, yeah. He'd be my aunt or whatever.
But these
She'd be my uncle.
but but these I think the point is that these ifs do not even require us to go to the level of, Caleb didn't need to be an All-American to go
Right.
try to. He needed to just make a shot. He missed everything and he got mostly good shots.
Yeah.
We gave up. I should have this. I don't know if you have it, but by
What's up?
by my guess, it was around 12 points in offensive second chance points to Duke.
I'm not sure.
And many of their threes came after offensive rebounds.
Yeah, they got a ton of offensive rebounds. I mean, it's not fun to say it, and then it can lead to, well, we just need to recruit better. Maybe Tommy's not that. There's a lot of minefields that
Totally.
we're crawling through right now to avoid. But let's be realistic about who Duke is. Malak is 7'2" and potentially a lottery pick, right? Obviously, Cooper Flagg is 6'9" or 6'10" and is probably the #1 pick. Malik Brown was ACC Defensive Player of the Year last year.
So good. Brown is
This is
so good. Yeah.
this is Sion James
Yeah.
plays massive for being a guard.
He's a 6'6" guard. They were so big compared to us, and
So big, and we're
essentially,
big.
we're well, but we're not tall, and I think we
Right,
we have
right.
we have great strength. But if you take Krivas out, we're like an average high school team. We go 6'3", 6'3", 6'3", 6'6", and then
Yeah,
2. Like we really aren't
and
that big.
yeah, and it's not as though, and both Townsend and Owaka, who are smaller post players, which we're really excited to have those guys, and they have a really important role that they can play for us to give us this versatility. But neither of them are really pogo sticks with like crazy wingspans.
No.
They can get up with a few steps, right? They can really get up with a few steps, but and they both really, they do their best to control space. But there's going to, if you're playing a game where it's flag, with those that three front court versus those 3 guys, and Krivas is still working his way back in. It feels like that's tough. You know, there's no shame in giving up that many offensive rebounds and that many second chance points. Although obviously it looks horrible to see it on the stat sheet. You know, they got 13 offensive boards and I think we got 6 or 7.
And we hit a
Um,
couple threes off offensive boards too, to keep in mind.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
Bryant hit one, and I think
yeah,
Love's 1-3 was on an offensive board.
yeah.
But it's true. We don't have the front court type of guy who's really twitchy vertically. I mean, Krivas can't jump over a phone book, and
Right.
it shows. I mean, we knew he would have trouble with this type of front court, and that's just that's what you're signing up for. So I think we can go into some of the breakdown. I also have these little comments on these guys. I want to hear what you think about the Caleb Love slander and where you are with that whole thing, because
Yeah.
we both, we're in the camp last year being skeptical, and then really complimentary, and then really frustrated, and then so maybe why don't you give us a little on that, while I pull up maybe some Caleb footage, and this is not to further the sort of Caleb is the problem scapegoat
Yeah,
narrative.
let's fan the flame.
All right,
Um,
unless you want
no,
to.
I'm kidding. It's difficult like the last like 5 losses, right? He's been atrocious, right? Um, it's, you know, mostly it's been a high volume of threes that aren't hitting, but he's a high volume three shooter in the first place. So, that's not unexpected. Um, I look, I'll go global and say, look, it's troublesome that we have, and I kind of hinted at it earlier, but you've got 3 guys in Love, Del Orso, and Townsend that we expected to all sort of be like, guys that can go get a bunch of buckets. And none of those 3 guys seems like they're really in sync with the offense right now.
Right.
And then the jump shooting from KJ and Jaden, where Jaden's, looks pretty darn good actually. I think he's at like 36% right now, which is fantastic if he can keep it up.
He
But
forced,
KJ's jump shooting
yeah,
has been really bad,
yeah,
despite his slashing's been fantastic, which is great. It's really kind of kept our offense alive a lot.
right, right,
But yeah, I mean, Love, needs to find, him not getting a basket until I think there was like 4 minutes left in the half in the first.
right.
And it was just like a blown play. I think it was like a breakaway. And so
The steal, yeah.
um, Tommy needs to figure it out. I put this
Yes,
so much more on Tommy than I do on
yes,
Caleb,
yes,
where he needs to put Caleb in a position to succeed. And the same thing with Townsend and the same thing with Delor. So, and Tommy's going
yeah,
to figure it out.
yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking. That the offense got good shots, but
Hmm.
but it's up to Tommy to help them get in a position to get these guys like it. I didn't see Townsend really in a position where he can operate, and
Right.
you credit Duke to a point, but then
Hmm.
you've got to be good enough to adapt. And I do put some of it on Caleb, because he basically, just because Tommy's challenging him to make better decisions does not mean you have to neuter yourself into being a standstill jump shooter. He's the
Right.
thing of the Caleb's got to realize he may idolize Damian Lillard. He is not Damian Lillard. There never has been a Damian Lillard. He's the best. He's got the best deep range
Yeah.
the world's ever seen. Organized
Yeah.
basketball at least has ever seen, and
Right.
that includes Curry. And you can look up the numbers. And Curry's a better overall player, but
Sure. Yeah.
I'm a Blazers fan, and I've
I
watched
know
him.
it.
He is unreal. Okay, Love needs to stop being a catch and shoot three guy and actually attack. And this was really early on, second possession, where he actually did a great job getting into the lane, beating Flag, and then beating Townsend. I
Yeah.
actually,
It was a really cool little dump off. And
yeah.
thankfully, Krivas was there to corral it.
Well, no, that was a goaltend.
Oh,
That
was it? Okay, good.
Townsend got that hoop. Yeah, yeah.
Nice, nice.
Um,
I remember hearing on the broadcast if questioning if it was a goaltend or not, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I really feel like he he's at his best in these games when he's attacking with the ball. That's what he needs to do, is make decisions off 2 feet with the ball.
Yeah.
But it's where is it? But he's making good decisions when he's got the ball, and not just stand still forcing threes. He's not that guy. I'm sorry. He's just not a good shooter. He's not a good enough shooter.
He's not a good enough shooter.
I mean, he's not a good enough shooter to be shooting the way he is. And if he were, he would have a better career percentage. But you can't be missing like we criticize Tommy, but he had a lot of open looks in this game. And you got to make these if you're going to be the guy who takes 9 threes. And he's been doing it for, 4 years now. So I think that's where the criticism for me comes in. You'll see it
Yeah.
on this play here. Let's see, where are we? Arizona gets the ball out of bounds. This is the kind of play that we want for Delhi and Love. And the people who say like Tommy's got to get better shots. How come this is the right spot? I'm gonna screw this up.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's rewatch the pain.
Sorry, let me make sure I got the right one.
Or
Oh,
we have to
sorry.
refer back to multiple streams to
This is it. I wanted that out of bounds play. This is actually it, but not a need to make such a big deal out of this. But again, just to show like he actually gets an open look here and bricks it, screened by a
we've
lot
had
of heck of a
great
screen.
bounce plays.
Yeah. And he's not even close. Uh-oh, did we lose Mike? Yeah, are you there?
Nice. I'm here. You got me?
Okay. Yeah, I don't have your, there you are. And so
Yeah.
back to my point about putting him more in attack mode, I think psychologically, even more so than just like sitting back and being passive. This was another possession where he actually attacked with the ball and his play led to the open three. So again, Malik Brown hard hedge. Henry
That
finds
was
for an open jumper. And again, that's a good shot. I can live with that. And we missed all those.
yeah.
So
Um
I have a couple more things on
yeah,
Caleb,
yeah.
but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Caleb obviously has been, like you said, he's been asked to be a slightly different player. They've had a lot of conversations on it. Obviously, that growth comes with a little bit of pain. But Tommy needs to continue to coach him into being comfortable.
Yeah.
So I do agree that if he's driving, that is really helpful. And if he's standing 27 feet away from the basket, that's probably not all that helpful.
Unless you're Lillard, then you can go,
And
because
we
then
know he's not.
you're gonna go 6 for 9,
Yeah.
and
And tap
but
your wrist.
well, right, and even when Dame has these nightmare games, he's going 13 for 13 from the line, and that's where like Caleb's not getting to the free throw line, and so I
And
get
that's what I was gonna say.
yeah, like
Yeah,
this
generating the fouls, and which is how, which comes naturally off of driving, right?
totally, totally. So the other thing, there's been a lot of commentary, and I'll turn this over to you, Mike. There's a lot of criticism about his sort of interpretive criticism about his potential defensive struggles, maybe. So I'm going to show you a few plays and we'll see what you make of it. This was critical to me. I felt like we actually battled pretty darn well. I thought we went toe to toe the first half in terms of the momentum of the game, and then it sort of tipped here and
Yeah, we did.
there. And here's Caleb in the corner on Sion James, and it's just
Yeah, I
about
remember this one.
focus and staying attached. Tell me what you think about this.
Well, he's, standing straight up isn't helpful. And then, yeah, I mean, that's, you need to stay between your man and the bucket. Um, I don't know, being guarding the corner isn't helping when your man is stepped towards the paint or is even shading that direction. And so, staying in between. So yeah, he needed to, and again, maybe that's
We'll go back to it.
if you're making buckets, then maybe he's feeling a little bit more engaged on the defensive end. I'm speculating, but if you're standing vertically like that, that's look how you can see how like your knees are locked, man. Like that ain't a great place to start.
Yeah, he's
And
actually on he's actually on his heels. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so, right there again, like just stay between kind of man and ball. Like he probably should be shading up closer to the 12 at that point. You know,
Okay, you want to
just
see him up here. Yeah.
I would, yeah, because I don't know what like where else is
Push him back
James
to the
gonna,
corner. Yeah, push him back
yeah,
to the corner.
exactly. So, there's like a, there's such thing as a no middle offense or defense, right? So where you just try to shade, the defender, or the defender always shades, with their hips, aiming towards the baseline,
Mm,
um, and or towards the sidelines rather, and then you just try to help and shove away from the middle to get the ball handler out of the middle. Um, you're kind of doing the opposite here.
yeah.
That's an everything middle defense. Again, I honestly, we've seen him be a good defender. I think
Yes.
if the shot's dropping, then he has an opportunity to feel a lot better about himself. I know it's an emotional game playing Duke. Now, what does a pro do? What does a fifth year guy do? You If the shot's not dropping, you put your respect on the line with every other thing that you can do.
Yes.
All of us have, I don't know if all of us have been athletes, but if you've been an athlete before, if you've been in a performance sport, you've been there where it feels like nothing can go right on maybe, the thing that you normally do really well. And you just need to figure the F out with everything else, because you can't you can't let the one bad thing lead to every other thing getting kind of worse.
That's right. He's got to be accountable for it. And here's another
Yeah.
here's where this game really tips for me. We're right there. I thought
Yeah. It's
we even outplayed them for a lot of the first half, but we're right there.
the very beginning for sure,
Yeah, we're right there, man. Even on these
Mhm.
possessions, it's not like there's not an inevitability of doom here. Like
No, no,
we're competing.
no.
I'll show you some good defensive possessions in a second, but first we're gonna satisfy our Caleb Love itch here. So here's Knipple. Again, this kid's 18. Caleb Love's a fifth year senior. There's no excuse for just being just a touch not engaged. And like, what is that?
I know. Yeah.
What even is that?
Because you're too late. And so then you're respecting him as a 3-point shooter, but like
But is he going for a steal and then backing out at the last second?
I don't know if he was thinking about going for a closeout, like, block, or like, I don't know what the decision making.
What is that? I don't,
Yeah.
either way, you can't let that happen.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. There, there's a fair amount of that. Delarsa got caught in some similar stuff
Mm,
where, here you're rotating. And look, you're not going to stop some of these guys from getting buckets.
totally.
But you can make it harder.
But it should not be because of a lapse in focus or
Yeah.
attention. And so here's the last one. Caleb let have a brutal last 3 minutes of the half. It really, in my opinion, was where the game sort of
Mm.
really tipped for us, because in between this 25 seconds that I've shown you, he missed the front end of a one-on-one, which was basically a turnover. And then he, earlier dribbled the ball out of bounds. We just had a terrible last 3 minutes, or else we're really right there. It was 28-27 when Bryant hits that three. The whole crowd is going nuts, and we're actually sort of
Yeah.
like
We're in it.
overtaking them. And then this is it. And then so here he is, just like go screen. He's not ready, and he recovers. But this kid's Sion James is 6'6", and so
He takes you in the post. It's a little late.
what I think you're looking at here is, again, what we showed in Wisconsin is, I know he's waiting for the screen. You can see him looking over his left shoulder here, but then he's just not ready right here.
And that is a very vertical stance
Yeah,
for
he's right here. I mean, even James is leaning, and he's like already beat.
James didn't took 1 3, so I don't know if you need to play him as a 3-point shooter there. I think, and he's not a bad 3-point shooter. He's a good 3-point shooter, but
Yeah,
it's just like he like makes like one a game.
yeah.
So maybe don't play him 26 feet from the basket, and like just come on back and sit down in a stance and be ready.
I think,
Um,
yeah, and I think we did overall as a team a really great job in mostly playing the players the way we did. And Duke's a really good team, and if you make one mistake, you're going to feel it with them. And they have my overall assessment was they had 9 or 10 guys, and Love, like I told you, I don't think Love even plays on their team. Maybe he's the fourth guard off the bench, but like they're deep and they're really,
I mean,
really
the way he's playing
strong.
now,
The way he's playing now,
sure.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
The way
yeah.
he's playing now. He wouldn't play anywhere, but
Yeah.
even at his best, I'm not sure, he's not getting the ball that much. They are deep and versatile. And each guy sort of hung in there on defense, even when the crowd was in it. And that was the loudest crowd that I've ever remembered in any sporting event. Like it was, Mikhail absolutely delivered.
Love to hear that, by the way, because
Yeah, I
that,
know, because it's got
yeah,
the blue hair and library kind of
totally. And we
reputation for it.
know
Yeah.
Duke gets the glazing every year about
Yeah.
how great they are, and there's the East Coast bias and everything, and so it is really. And then so those of us that haven't been back to a game of Tucson in a long time, it's been a while, unfortunately. You wonder like, did they still have the magic? So really nice to hear
Oh,
that you guys felt like we brought it.
oh, we brought it. And that
Yeah.
during the technical free throws
Hmm.
might have been the loudest I've ever experienced voluntarily. Like that was deafening. And that
Voluntarily.
we all sort of felt like it was a culmination of the injustice of some of the, I think overall the officials did an awesome job. I love that they let him play. There were some just weird sort of possession calls that all seemed to go against
Gosh, there was some stuff that felt like it went. You don't want to point
that.
to it because
That
there's plenty of stuff we did wrong,
No, I
obviously.
mean, like also watching the video, like there's tons of plays we made that were super physical
Totally.
that weren't called fouls. So it's easy
Yeah.
to be biased on stuff that gets whistled and then sort of ignore the stuff that gets ignored. But that
Yeah.
technical seemed to be maybe not really a technical.
Yeah.
So again, with Caleb, look, I've actually, even though I know this is sort of like a let's point the finger at Caleb session, that's actually not what I'm saying. I think it is fair that he's going through something, and my sort of armchair psychological assessment is that he puts too much weight on his shoulders.
For sure.
That's why he identifies with Lillard. Lillard is kind of a Superman archetype as well.
Mm.
And his maturity is to actually find a way to take, we talked about this last year, stop taking responsibility in ways that hurt the team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
like stop, like get out of your own way and just play the damn game. And instead of being so fixated on like I have to make a three, no, just play the game and it'll come to you. And that's what I thought was really impressive about Knipple. He actually really got dominated by us
Yeah. I did.
most of the game, but he
Yeah.
he kept playing through it, and then he hits those
And
two
then,
buckets.
yeah.
So with Love, it's just like I know he cares. I know he's a great teammate. I know he's a warrior. It's not because he's selfish or he has a lack of motivation. It's because he puts too much on his shoulders in the wrong way, and it results in this really sort of sideways play. And so that's why I highlight like players who just play the game as to what the next play demands of them. And I think he gets a little bit programmed into, no, it's only success if I do this, and then he gets fixated, and
Yeah.
that's where it seems really disjointed to me.
Yeah.
What about for
Yeah.
you?
I totally agree. And
Mm.
that's a very empathetic, and fair and personal, because we've seen this guy, for however many 48 games or whatever it's been. He's intelligent. He knows the game of basketball. There's no doubting it. It's not like he's some bum. I don't think he's broken. He's got a little too much give a shit, and he needs to play. Hopefully he can play a little bit looser and just sort of let the game kind of, like you said, come to him. And that's what I mean. It's on Tommy to
Yeah,
make sure he feels comfortable. That's sort of what I get when I'm. You said it. You were more eloquent in your description, but that's what I sort of mean by comfortable. Um, you know, make sure that he just can just sort of feel
yeah,
freer and freer from his own expectations. Is a great way to put it.
totally. And that's what I was thinking about this morning. Like, what little mini games would I play to loosen these guys' psychology up?
Mm.
My one for love is based on a game we sometimes play in bouldering called Takeaway. And in bouldering, do you rock climb at all?
No,
Okay,
no. I got
so
buddies who do. Yeah.
okay, right on. So
Yeah.
sometimes, when you're warming down or whenever, you can go on like an easier problem and just play with a group of four people. Just say, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna take one hold away, and then you have to climb it that way. Right.
Oh, cool.
And so I'd love to play takeaway with Caleb, where in practice you get like say 8 reps. I'm talking half court offensive sets.
Hmm.
And each time Tommy goes over and he whispers in Caleb's ear and he takes one thing away for him. He says, you can't shoot a three,
Yeah.
or you you only get one dribble,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like you have to find this person, or like play with it so he can loosen
yeah,
his
yeah.
psychology and it becomes more of like just a pattern disruption. Uh,
Sure.
um, I would love to just get him in like those mini games and just play and just be like, hey, dude, let's just react. Get in your intuition, get in your body. You obviously have a ton of basketball wisdom in there that does not require so much thinking. Like just get in there and play. And if you don't take a three-pointer in the game, it doesn't mean that you haven't succeeded to support the team's, efforts. Um,
You
yeah,
you can certainly see it, and you can see it every year. And that's one that's a really cool game, and I think that'd be genius for him. The disruptor makes a ton of sense. You can certainly see it over the years that because we you and I probably I
right.
watched a ton of tape before he even came here because I had such a big opinion about who he was. Um,
Oh, me too. Yeah,
that he would get it in his head that it was like I have to hit this jump shot, and he ends up taking six
yeah,
before he finally makes one, and then maybe from there he goes on some flame, and some heater, and you're like, oh, I guess that's what he needs. But it's the wrong way to play the game, and I think we all know that to have an expectation of how the outcome is going to be, and I don't mean win, I mean how it like play by play, thinking I need to, it needs to be this, you're going to miss what the defense is giving you, and
yeah.
you're going to end up forcing something, and sometimes that works, but on the whole, that's not going to be an efficient way or a fun way, honestly, to
Well,
play the game.
yeah, and even more to the point, it's not Tommy Lloyd Arizona way.
It's not.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could go to UCLA and he actually might be a better fit in that way. Just take the ball and
All
do
right.
do two-man game. And he's great at that. And when
Yeah, he is.
Tommy's had those sets with, you pointed out with Pella and Umar last year.
Yeah.
He was great. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that. And I think it's almost like psychologically, it's like in the Matrix when, Neo is training with Morpheus in the training simulator, and he's like,
Yeah.
stop trying to hit me and hit me.
Yeah. 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 That's a
Just
great
like,
point. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, like, whew, take a breath, like just play freaking basketball.
So, and I do wonder if it would help if Tommy did set him up in some stuff that was like some kind of, I don't know about automatic, but just sort of like, comfortable plays just to get the game going. I don't know. We're gonna have an
Yeah,
opportunity today
yeah.
to get the game going. I know we said we weren't going to talk a ton about Davidson. We're not
You,
going to, but
you
um,
can if you want. I just don't have much to say.
no, I didn't really. I've been sitting on the pain. So I have not looked at Davidson. I'm assuming that we're going to play well, but
I will I,
TBD.
I will say shout out Wildcat Scoop podcast with Jason and Shelby Shear. They gave
Yeah,
a really nice preview of the Davidson game. Go over to Wildcat Authority and check out their podcast on the game today. They have just
yeah,
some good information. So let's move off Love. We love you, buddy. My
yep,
point is like this is not pro sports. We don't have a trade deadline. We're ride or die with this kid. So
yeah,
I am all behind Caleb Love getting it together. While a part of me, of course, since the beginning of last year has said, I don't know if we optimize until the post Caleb Love era, but there's no sense in giving that much energy right now. I'm all in for him to have a great game today. What I'd love to show you, Mike, is a couple examples so people can get hyped on some really good defensive sets that we had. Is that cool with you?
nice. I love that.
Yeah, because we were really critical of the lack of rotations against Wisconsin. So this
Yeah,
just to set
totally.
the stage, we got Love in the corner on Knipple. We've got Lewis, Bryant, Krivas, and Townsend. This is a pretty big lineup. There's no
Hmm.
Bradley out there, who's probably our best on-ball defender. Let's just let it run and then tell me what you notice and we can play it back.
Yeah, little zone.
Nice job by Carter to cut off the
Great,
baseline. Yeah.
great job by Carter.
Here's the reset.
Yep.
I thought Townsend was sneaky good on all our
Really
switches.
interesting. That
Really
was
good.
a really good coverage by Townsend.
Right?
Jeez, that's a
So
tough cover.
So shout out Townsend. I think it's going to get lost because of how poorly we played and how little he did on offense. But rewatching the game, I thought he did a really good job getting assigned with lots of guys and moving his feet and fighting for rebounds and overall doing a pretty good job staying in front of people.
Yeah, and that looked like collectively, like you said earlier, cohesive. I couldn't tell if we were playing a little bit of mixed man and zone, or if we were switching. Maybe it was just that we were switching, but and then it looked like it was just straight man, which is
Yeah,
probably the result of, hey, we're probably playing man with some ability to switch, and they're just in order to optimize, they're just
I think we switched a
communicating
lot.
really they're just
Yeah,
communicating really clearly
really
about,
good.
hey,
Yeah,
is this a switch out? Do I need you here,
I
or am I
think
sticking with this? And
I think
they
it.
they stuck
Yeah,
with their guy.
sorry, Mike. I think it was that.
No,
I think it was really good
yeah.
communication in a man set. So here is a couple minutes later. Bradley's back in the game with Lewis, Love, Kribas. So starting five. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Love actually nice job here. He gets hit and he hits flag and gets over the top of the screen.
Great job.
Great job by Townsend
Way
over
to
the
get
top
over
of the
that screen.
screen. Yep.
Yeah.
Great job by Bradley to get over and recover. I want to highlight that.
That
Um,
was I mean, Townsend getting a hand in there
yes,
was
yes.
really helpful too.
Ah, shoot,
And
I'll just
there's
let it play.
and there's Townsend react. Oh my gosh, you love the scramness of that,
Yes,
you know?
that looked like a Houston set to me.
That looked like a Houston ability to keep reacting and keeping a play.
Let's watch it again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop it. Sorry, folks. One screen, two screens, three screens, all over. Four screens, helped by Krivas. Great
Yeah.
hand by Townsend. Good recovery, good rotation. So good. And even if he makes that
And
shot,
even if he makes that,
yeah, that's
that's
good. That's great. That's great offense. I mean, they moved the
yeah.
ball. They moved the ball really well. The ball didn't stick.
Oh, and you forcing them to like their third or fourth choice, or
Hmm.
however deep down that is on the list of like what they were trying to do. Like it's all you can do,
All you
against a
can
really
do.
good team. That's what you can do. And then you hope that they make, they get a point out of every possession rather than, 1.3 or whatever.
And
And
that's why
and
they
that's
only
how you
scored.
win.
That's why they scored 69 points. And had
Yeah.
we corralled a few extra offensive rebounds, that game is, the game's 64, 63 with a minute left, maybe. So here we
Yeah.
go. Start of the second half was awesome for Arizona. Um, this is just another great defensive set we're going to see here. Starting five. Townsend was sneaky good getting over.
Yeah.
He was moving he's really impressed me at how he's moving his feet. Love's a little late there.
Love,
Mhm.
you got to stick in that one, man. I don't care
Mhm.
that you got bumped.
He helped.
Ah, that was good.
Uh-huh. He helped though.
Yeah, he did.
So this one,
Oh, wow.
so this one is a really great example of actually how we got beat off the dribble twice
Yeah.
and then good recovery. So let's watch that again. Love and Townsend both get beat, but watch the Rivas again was sneaky with his help D all game. He's playing drop here. Love says
There's Love missing it off. Yeah, good help. And then Love reacting. And then Townsend.
good recovery. Knipple maybe should have just gone straight up, but really,
Yeah, he had
good.
Krivas, I think, but Krivas showing there, under the basket, flashing out just a little bit. I think that, you go, shoot, that guy's 7-2.
That,
So it was good.
that's where the drop. That's what the drop's supposed
Yeah,
to do.
that's what the job is for.
That's what the drop is.
Even though, Malak hit that 1-3, you got
Mm.
to still play a
You tip,
drop on him.
you tip your cap,
Yeah, I know. What are you gonna
So
do?
this isn't as much of a team rotation, but I actually loved when we went late to the Henry at the five. This isn't that lineup. This is Awaka at the five. But just a shout out to Henry, man. He got beat a few times, but he was fighting. He he helps off. I think Love is going to get beat by James, and watch Henry in the help position. This is a good sign for Arizona basketball. Yeah, just to like, oh, I didn't share it.
Oh, I thought I was waiting for it.
I'm like running
Just
it.
being patient.
You were being really patient. All right, let's try that again. So I was going to say this is a really good sign for Arizona basketball because
Yeah.
like we're down
There's
11.
Henry. I love Henry. They're just running the length of the floor casually. Seven something.
He's a character.
Yeah,
So
he's great.
Love's going to get beat by James again. And Henry's going to be there for the response. For the,
And he did well covering
Mhm.
space on both.
Yep.
because by shading towards the paint there, and he's got such length, and you see that causes that ball handler to be like, yeah, can I slip it through?
Yep.
Really good stuff. Um, yeah, just need
Here's that. You just, you gotta, sometimes you just gotta make shots.
to hit some shots, dude. I mean, I know it's so reductive to say it, but like our jump shooting is just not where it needs to be right now. And
Well, and we're struggling to put our bigs in position to get easy shots.
yeah,
That's the part that's on Tommy for sure.
yeah. I mean, you know, again, it's that's we have such a small sample size, right? Because we've played Duke, maybe the toughest interior team in the country now that we've seen them together. I thought maybe the lack of continuity, and the youth would be an issue for them. It's been less of an issue than I expected. Their
Uh,
talent is just that good, right? Um,
I believe in Duke. I didn't believe in them last year. I think this is one of the best teams in the country. And in March, I
oh
think
yeah,
I mean, can you imagine with Malik Brown coming off the bench as your five?
it's just not. It's just insanely unfair, and that's what
He
I didn't think it was going to happen because it didn't make any. I was like, that can't happen, right?
he might be one of the best three or four defensive bigs in the country. Forget about
Yeah,
starters or bench. And
yeah,
by the way, he can also like facilitate and make passes. And uh,
really intelligent kid.
watch the replay if you didn't watch Malik Brown or you don't know who he is. You'll hear me and Mike
We
rant
just
about him
love Duke players
last
now.
last April. No, we loved him in the portal, and
Yeah,
this is why he disrupts every post pass. He had deflections. He had like three tie-ups single-handedly. Um,
yeah.
he's just a disruptor. He's not quite in sync on their offense yet, but I think when he does, they're going to be even better. So this is I thought this is the set where Malawak hits the corner three, and
Yeah.
Krivas does have maybe we could say a slow response, but I would say, even including that, this is a pretty good early rotation for us. See what you think. Lewis again over top on the screen, cuts off the dribble, switching on the play.
Nice.
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 Bryant's
Well,
defense is so improved. I'd say it's a late close. Is that fair to say?
yeah, but it's just you just don't expect him to take that shot though, too, right? But I get it. It's a big game. You need to respect everybody, but
That's just
I
like,
don't know.
well, they're that good that their five man is in the 7-2 5 man
It
finish.
was like incredibly raw, but
I don't know.
sure, man. Like hit it.
Are
And
you
we know he
saying?
can. We know he can take those shots. We've seen him
Yeah.
take those shots, or if you watched any of the tape on him, because he's a really interesting player.
Mhm.
But he doesn't hit him with frequency, and so that's really tough.
He only took that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple more. Do you have time for a couple more?
Yeah. Hit me.
Okay. This is again, I think Krivas actually was better than maybe was apparent in
I thought I liked Krivas's play. And it was limited minutes and he picked up those early fouls. Um, but I liked his play, that's given who we're playing, like it was admirable.
yeah. There was one where I think this is the one where I want to show a hedge recovery from Krivas. This might be this one. Yep. Here's the hedge recover. I mean, they didn't really try much, but I like that we're hedging. And then when Love goes under the screen, then they hit it. The beginning part of that sequence, Love goes over top of the first screen. Watch this.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're trying to do. Maybe he goes over the top here.
Hmm.
When Proctor is off the ball, he goes under the screen. Maybe that's what they want. But I don't know, man. I thought the hedge was pretty cool.
I I don't know. It feels like had Caleb like ran into that screen pretty hard, that would have been a moving screen. But like
Fair enough.
that, I mean, that's an NBA or like FIBA real rule versus what they would call in college, where they don't even call it the NBA. What am I talking about? But you know, um, flag was still like walking through, and so
Fair enough.
if he'd gone over, he probably could have disrupted. Maybe picked it up anyway.
I don't, again, anyone can cherry pick stuff after the fact and create a narrative, and we don't want to do that. This is
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
pick any college basketball team and like
yes,
just
yeah,
start picking plays, and everybody's gonna look like crap. So
totally, totally. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to balance it out here.
Yeah.
I think this is a great possession, first of all, because they're scrambled. This was off a miss. You've got Krivas on flag in the corner.
Hmm.
And this is a typical situation where Arizona just gives up a layup or an open three. And I love the way Krivas responds here. Again, this kid's game. He cuts off flag. We rotate.
That's tough. Even
Yeah.
that was,
And then, of course, Malik Brown gets the offensive rebound. But um, then you go to it, and Krivas is here, and I can live with that. If you're forcing Duke to beat us with 21-foot pull-ups,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I'll
That's
take I'll
that's
take that.
the whole thing about, defensive sets is you, you don't plan on taking the ball away every time.
Right.
Like the idea is forcing them into something that you're okay with, that you're more okay than other things.
Mhm.
Your least worst choice, right? And a 21-foot pull up is your least worst choice, but
Totally. All right,
equally
so
agree.
that's probably enough on this. I've been talking a lot, Mike. What are you coming away with having looked this over and Bahamas in a couple hours?
Yeah, I mean the defensive stats right now on the season are trash. It doesn't help to and I wasn't that day's like garbage in my opinion. If a team goes nuclear on you, and we have such a small sample size right now, so it's really outweighing everything. So if a team goes nuclear on you from three, and a lot of that is just you can't really defend some of it was rotations, and it looks like we clean them up a fair amount. And some of that, and then free throws, like it's hyper efficient, right? So um, I think the defense, I got some faith. You've given me some extra faith. Um, the offense needs to get back to clicking, and maybe it needs to click for the first time. I think I made mention in the beginning of the year that I wasn't sure exactly what this offense looked like. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure that we were running an offense really, and I think that's actually been the case where it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know that the structure of and I know Tommy loves to just sort of, kind of just let the guys do things within a, kind of a broader rule set. Um, but maybe there needs to be, just, some additional structure to it. He's shown in the past that, we had, I said this previously, we had Ben and Azulis, two of the best offensive efficiency, offensive threats that we've had, come through, especially during Tommy's time, but, even in the last 10 years. Um, those guys didn't look good in their first few games under Tommy, and then he adjusted the offense, and all of a sudden, they start working together better, and they start working collectively better, or individually better within the collective. So I'm looking at the offense. I mean, I'm just circling the offense. If you're not getting points from look, not getting points from Toby Waka, that's fine. Like that's completely normal, completely fine. He's going to do his job out there the best he can. But if you're not getting points from Caleb, and you're not getting points from Anthony Delorso to the extent that he can play, I think he still has a role in this team. But he's been bumped down the list, even my list. And if you're not getting points from Trey Townsend, we didn't talk about it, but it's not like, like Trey didn't score either, right? Trey had like 4 points. So if you're not getting points from those three guys, and like the thing that they're there to do is score some points,
Yeah.
you've got a structural issue within the offense that needs to get sorted out.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not like Caleb didn't have shots that he could have hit. So if he had some shots, that obviously looks a little bit better. But yeah, I think Tommy has some stuff to figure out. Um, I would like I mean, at the beginning of the season, I wanted to see KJ as more of the backup ball handler, as well as Caleb. I thought those three really could manage. The three starting guards. I thought the three of them could manage the ball handling duties. KJ is a really intelligent passer. He showed some great efficiency last year. Um, Maybe having him shift into more of a ball in hand kind of playmaking role, and then doing his drives and cuts, sort of off of other guys, or just as they come. Maybe that's a solution. Um, maybe Del Orso isn't maybe a primary ball handler like we're like he's trying to shift him to. We talked about, hey, is that an experiment? It looks like an experiment to me. It looks like maybe a somewhat failing experiment to begin the year. Um, So I think that there's structural stuff that needs to adjust. I love Tommy's offensive brain, obviously. He's been wildly successful on the offensive side and has been sneaky successful on the defensive side. But if we're talking that, what's really hasn't shown up to me yet, it's the offense. And so I'm looking to see what changes within the structure of the offense. It's not just about the individual box scores. It really is to me about those responsibilities and just, who's trying to do what within the offense. And is that Tommy setting things up, or is he just sort of saying, go to it? Or he said he continues to say go to it and they just get more comfortable. Continuity is difficult. Lack of it is difficult, rather. There are new guys, even Caleb having new role, KJ and Jaden stepping up into new roles. So there's stuff to figure out. I think it'll be a structural change, but TBD. I'm really, really, really excited to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I think you hit beautifully on all those points, and I think there's probably truth in every layer. The structural stuff seems to show through where I'm watching the game and I'm just like, Trey Townsend's just he's out there playing hard, but I don't think we're really utilizing him. And same thing with Krivas, same thing with Love in certain ways. We just need to help these guys feel comfortable to get the ball in a position to do what they do best. And I think some of that is role establishment. They're still working on that. It looks like Bradley and Lewis are the ones who are most comfortable with their role. And what's tricky with that is that they're probably the highest usage players. And so
Yeah.
I saw even on the replay, there was a couple times where I'm like, Jaden, like you might benefit from looking to pass more. And I never thought I'd say that, but I want to see him. My mini game for him is to do an offensive set and have Tommy whisper in his ear, okay, on this set, no matter what, you need to find a creative way to get the ball to blank. And what I would like to see is Townsend be one of those guys more often. And then Townsend on the other end, I want his little mini game to be like your goal is to get open and demand the ball. And
Yeah.
I honestly think what part of it is you've got really good guys. You've got
Yeah.
really, really good humans who are mature, who are actually deferring a little bit because they're trying to get the system. And this system only works to the degree that everybody is in sync and on the same page and also feeling the flow of attack. So you've got, understandably, the three guards are taking the most shots, but that's really not that efficient in terms of what we have. Even if these guys are hitting, it's not that efficient. So yes,
Yeah.
let's look for structural changes within the offense to get Townsend more good looks, to get Krivas to the line, to to get more free throws, to get Love attacking, and then let's also look for those guys to kind of like just get used to playing with each other. Some of it's just the right reps with the right intention, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because what you mentioned about Jaden and KJ, and it's funny because you could look at them and say, like, look, those guys are actually playing. Those guys are the ones that are doing really well. Like everyone, look at those guys. Kudos. They don't need it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe KJ hits some more, hits some better, hit some more threes. Totally agree though that it's possible that what they're doing isn't actually the best thing for the team. When you have like, hey, Jaden's the leading scorer, and you're like, I don't think I wanted that.
Right.
That's not exactly what I was looking for,
That's
actually.
not the best
I think I
version.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I think I was hoping for him to pass more than he did last year, and he's passing basically the exact same amount as he did last year when he was not tasked at being a 30-minute per game kind of plus primary point guard. Um, he has basically the exact same assist rate. Like can like you should be leading the team in assists every game and coming in third or having zero at Wisconsin. Like it's not exactly the best, even though you are putting up points. And look, somebody has to put up points, but and look, easier to get assists when people are hitting shots. But I think we see,
Mhm.
there's a lot of Jaden in control, and to some extent I love it, but I really was hoping, and I continue to hope that leans more towards him being a playmaker for others. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that
Yeah.
yeah yeah that's part of the shift. It's the guys that are doing well, I think, need to shift a little, and I think the guys that are doing poorly need to shift as well. Uh, And I do still have a lot of faith that we're going to get there. I still really like this group. Obviously not the start we were hoping for, but big opportunity this week.
What I was trying to look for too is what's the path to this team's best version of itself. And
Hmm.
I did get glimpses of that. And I think it's narrow because of the, we can talk talent all day, but you can't change that in the middle of the season. So
Right.
certainly a lot of the criticism of recruiting, like we can get to that in April when we hit the portal and stuff. Um, but I think there is a path to this team being really good. And I think it starts with the defensive connectedness and intensity and focus that it showed pretty much the whole game against Duke. And I'm looking to see, was that circumstantial, or can you make that part of your identity? Can you make that part of your DNA? I'm cautiously optimistic that they can come out this afternoon and or evening, I guess, out there and
Yeah.
show that. But I'm honestly, part of me is like, well, are we going to go back to kind of 90% Arizona defense where we give up kind of comfortable threes and, we sort of play at their pace? Or are we going to go attack and really press the issue like we did against Duke? So I think it's a good place to work from that. I think this team has established a higher potential ceiling of defensive ability than the other teams have. Now it remains to be seen if that becomes their identity, or do we just go into focusing on offense and lose that? And that's going to be the challenge with a really tough schedule, is you don't have a lot of developmental sort of exhales in your schedule to make mistakes. Like you got to be right in on winning these games in the Bahamas. You really don't want to go 1-2 or worse. 2-1 might be okay with the way the schedule falls, but you got to, like, now you're 2-2 headed to the Big 12. Like you got to win these games now. So
Yeah.
that doesn't give you a lot of room to mess around, and so we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. And two things that I am circling to keep watching as the season continues. Catch and shoot has been atrocious on our percentages. A lot of that's obviously Caleb not shooting well, but KJ as well. Other guys, collectively we're just shooting really, really poorly on catch and shoots. And then additionally, let's see, what are we shooting on catch and shoots? Well, I just had it, but it's bad. And then additionally, the roll man. We really haven't,
Mm.
looking at the synergy stats, we've cut our like roll man opportunities in half.
Mm.
Um, and so that's a little perplexing. So I'd like to see us utilize the roll man more often out of the pick and roll and or out of ball screens. We've got this incredible group of bigs. We really expected them to be I expected them to be scoring out of those opportunities much more often, and to see it cut in half is a little shocking. Again, it's early data, so it's possible it's just
Yeah.
noise, but
And
um, it,
let's please keep in mind that Kribas was out of practice for 6 weeks. Like
totally,
it's like not even, it wasn't like he was suspended in practicing. He was not practicing the whole
yeah,
fall. So like that is, you can criticize him all you want, but that is a big deal. And
yeah,
not that I think he's going to come out and be some guy. I'm in the camp of saying I think he'll take steps this year, but I think next year is when he becomes more dominant. I don't think he's going to be a guy that disrupts the game super huge this year, but I think he's going to have moments, and I think those are still coming. I think he's still getting in shape. And Awaka's just, he's a project. He's a fun project, but I don't think he's ever going to be, he's like a 6'8" Umar who can play defense.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Henry, I think we can get more out of
So,
Henry.
so
He,
that's the other one, Henry. Yeah, I
yeah,
hope you can get more out of him.
he had a great open look from the top of the key in the first half, just a couple inches long. I think if he just gets, these guys need reps, and this might be the team that doesn't come out of the gates with pedal to the metal, but just needs time. And I think the big thing is not to freak out, and for them to, stay focused on their potential and just like actually trust the process.
Yeah, I like you said, it's a really good group of guys, and so I have faith that mentally that they're going to get there, and Tommy and crew are a good coaching crew. So everybody, all the listeners, enjoy the journey. It's okay to lose. It is.
It's
Um,
also okay to lose your minds temporarily,
yeah,
as long as you find it along the way a few days later.
totally fair. Even if it takes some escalator or two.
All
All right.
right. Well, let's leave it there, Mike. I'm glad you're back. Doing it solo is very difficult. So thanks for everyone who tuned in, and please leave your comments. What do we need to see in the Bahamas to be believing that this team is actually belongs in the conversation of a serious national team? And do we play, is this 3 and 3 days or is this one of those Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday ones?
It's so funny because I never remember. I always think
Yeah.
it's 3 and 3 days, but it's hard to remember, honestly.
All right.
I feel like it's 3 out of 4, but we'll see.
All right. Well, from Mike and Jesse at Wildcat Fanalytics, bear down, everybody.